We're live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra. In Kumasi, it's on Love 99.5 FM. Also on over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Dreams Boga, Tanga Radio Freed in Nandom, KTU Radio in Koforidua, Kekeli Radio in Ho, Go Digital on Facebook, Spotify, and myjoyonline.com app. In today's edition, Fair Wages and Salaries Commission proposes a 30% cut in salaries of CEOs of state-owned enterprises and renegotiation of their condition of service in an attempt to address inequalities in the pay structure.
Targets as far as the wage basket is concerned, are very difficult to meet. Government has gone ahead to even slash some CEOs' benefits to 30%, but that is not to say that entirely addresses the issue.
And as the Tripartite Committee concludes salary negotiations for public sector workers this week, organised labour has been asked to lower its expectations.
If you see the rate at which our disposable income body at a very fast rate, and that is very worrying.
Neither is it in the interest of government to also do what will not be sustainable.
Wondering about the neutrality allowance demands by Clocksag? I have details of that also this afternoon. Bloody weekend as 3 separate accidents leave 4 dead and at least 46 others injured in the Savannah and Central regions.
Instead of 21,
it had loaded 39 passengers instead of the allowable passengers of 21.
That's coming up in our Drive Safe campaign. Minority in Parliament demands detailed breakdown of free SHS funds allocated for the program since 2017, alleging misappropriation of 2 billion Ghana cedis.
I am demanding accountability because we know the implementation of the policy has not been smooth of the program. So we need to get detailed accountability, a breakdown of what the so-called 7.62 billion, which I challenge.
In sports,
Asante Kotoko head coach Prosper Nate Ogum says that he has to meet with his players after they suffered their second consecutive defeat over the weekend.
And later in showbiz.
Yeah, man, I've been doing this. Right, probably Drake, Kanye West. Yes. Kojo Inchi too. I go like work on a song with Kojo Inchi.
Have you approached him yet?
Nah, not yet. Because
I have Kwesi Arthur's big acts on his wish list. 4 features. That's it. We're here on the Midday. Me, Emefa, Apawu. Many thanks for choosing us. We are your home, as always, of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Thanks for choosing us once again. We take off from the Labour Front, and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission is this afternoon undertaking a comprehensive review of salaries and conditions of service of chief executives of state-owned enterprises, a 30% cut in salary, renegotiation of conditions of service to address disparities are the benchmarks on which the review is taking off. Additionally, CEOs found to be unproductive will be sacked. The Finance Ministry in the State Ownership Report reviewed that SOEs cause huge financial losses to the country to the tune of about 6 billion cedis. Yet, leaders of state-owned enterprises do not only take huge salaries, but also enjoy a wide range of allowances. Chief Executive of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Ben Arthur, said CEOs employed recently are not included in the review.
The government has honored its promise to ensure that the necessary review to address any disparities are concerned. But I can also assure you that in recent times, all new CEOs that have been appointed and have these disparities that we're talking about. So this means some existing disparities that have been identified. And government has gone ahead to ensure that the necessary corrections will be made. I must also be sincere with you that the targets as far as the wage basket is concerned are very difficult to meet. Government has gone ahead to even slash some CEOs' benefits to 30%, but that is not to say that entirely addresses the issue. So we are taking the necessary steps to ensure that the right thing will be done. Specifically for SOEs, that has not been done to a very large extent. Some compensations had been negotiated in silos, and government says that, look, that no longer must exist. That is why the sanity is being brought in. We also have chief executives that also belong to the subvented agencies, the ones that are not SOEs. And in that space, largely, the harmony exists there. In as much as you want to sanitize the system, you must also be careful that external competition and the rest will not also be sacrificed.
That's Ben Arthur. He's the CEO of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. Well, we know that the tripartite committee made up of government, organised labour and employers are meeting today to conclude negotiation for salary adjustment ahead of the Midday celebration on Sunday. 30 billion cedis, representing almost 50% of national revenue, goes into the payment of public sector wages alone. But as the economy struggles, labour unions are demanding appropriate salaries to cope with the current conditions. Here's the General Secretary of the Tertiary Education Workers Union, Charles Osei.
Some CEOs seem not to work to increase productivity, but they are giving all the largesse that it deserves. And we see it, as we all know. But what about the Ghanaian worker, those in the public sector? And that is where we have to look at it very quickly. If we see that some CEOs are not performing and increasing productivity to that level, they need to be fired. The times that we find ourselves are not the best to all of us. So what can we do to ameliorate some of these hardships? So if, for example, Mr. Atta did talk about pay cut of 30%, blah, 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 there's 20% if somebody is about 20 years pay in active service. Because honestly speaking, if you see the rate at which our disposable income is eroding at a very fast rate, then it tells you that today, for example, if you go to the market today, this very morning, even as we speak, to buy XY commodity, even not tomorrow, in a few hours' time you get there, the price has changed. And that is one thing that is very worrying.
Well, Ben Arthur wants labour to be measured in their demands.
What I will ask organized labour to do for all of us is not to take an entrenched position at this very point in time, because in negotiation, you definitely may be taking and you may be giving off something. So we have to go to the negotiating table per Section 97 of the Labour Act in good faith, that we should be able to have an open mind about this and do this one peacefully, in good faith. It is not the interest of government that organized labour should not feel well. Neither is it in the interest of government to also do what will not be sustainable. So definitely we'll meet around the table and in good faith negotiate. And that is what I ask organized labour and the other tripartite partners to adhere to when we get engaged.
That's the Chief Executive of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Ben Arthur there. Well, it's estimated that half of public sector workforce earns less than 1,500 cedis a month, and most of them are members of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association Ghana. That's CLOGSAG. Deputy Finance Minister Dr. John Kumah describes it as unfair and assures ongoing negotiations will fix it.
Government is not against any opportunity that will improve their working conditions, except that we will always want to benchmark that with what is possible and available. In fact, I agree that there's so much inequities and uncomparable conditions that we have to really rationalize for everybody. CLOGSAG did not come on the negotiation table with neutrality allowance. They came with all kinds of demands and allowances which they justified, and it could. In fact, if government accepted those ones, that would triple what they were getting at the moment. In fact, CLOGSAG is the lowest on the single spine structure. So something ought to be done for them. Why in trying to couch a term that they thought at the time to be limited to only CLOGSAG came up with the word neutrality allowance. It is not something that CLOGSAG actually demanded. It was a term. And so now that, of course, the team have met again, looking at the public position on such a word called neutrality allowance. And I believe that going forward, we have to really look at the word neutrality.
That's the Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kumah there. Meanwhile, Labour consultant Yadom Boachiansa has suggested to the government to revisit the discussion on implementation of living wage to avert labour unrest in Ghana.
The labour political environment itself is very charged. And it is charged because you remember the 2-year wage deal of 4 and 7% didn't go down very well with the section of the labour. If you look at the presidential remuneration package, that came after the announcement
of the 2-year deal also did not help matters. So therefore, it put the leadership of the QUC or the labor movement in a very tight situation.
That's a Labour consultant, Yadom Boachi Ansa, helping us to take labour issues out of the way. For now, we focus on our Drive Safe campaign.
Safe driving saves lives. Drive safe.
And unfortunately, it was a bloody weekend as 4 lives were lost with at least 46 individuals left with various degrees of injuries. These were as a result of accidents that occurred in the Savannah and Central regions. There's more in the following news desk report.
In the Savannah region, an ESP bus heading to Kumasi from Wa collided with a stationary long vehicle. At least 4 lives were lost with many others rushed to the hospital for treatment. In the Central region, 2 separate accidents left 46 persons injured. They both happened along the Kaswa-Winneba Cape Coast stretch. The first involved a Sprinter bus and a Kia Rhino.
Sprinter no dey anymore. Kia Rhino.
Eyewitnesses have told us that the Sprinter bus was leading while the Kia Rhino followed. The DAF was heading to Cape Coast from Accra, and the two were from Cape Coast. All of a sudden, the Kia Rhino attempted overtaking, but first it hit the car in front of it. 8 people were trapped, 2 females and 6 males. We managed to get them out of the car.
The second accident occurred when a bus carrying passengers along the same stretch had a flat tire. 20 of the 46 persons were left in critical condition.
38 into the difference instead of 21.
It had loaded 39 passengers instead of the allowable passengers of 21. And it had also loaded plantain and other foodstuff. So it had loaded beyond its capacity. But luckily, no one died.
So that's a news desk report there, cataloguing all the incidents this weekend. Well, the National Road Safety Authority have been commenting on this. My colleague Joseph Akable joins me in studio. What exactly has the National Road Safety Authority been saying about this trend?
Authorities is quite aware of the situation, and they keep undertaking the publicity and encouraging drivers to be careful, especially long distance ones, to have alternate drivers when necessary. And when you are too tired, you shouldn't be driving. Okay, and that's our Drive Safe campaign. Well, on to some other stories now. Crop science researchers have observed a consistent drop in yields on 6 staple crops and warning of possible food shortage. The researchers are asking for the implementation of urgent measures to avert a crisis, considering the associated challenges in the agricultural sector due to the Ukraine war, which has negatively affected production in the country. Specifically, researchers want investment in genetic innovations in agribusiness. My colleague Samuel Imbura of our Agri Desk has more in this report.
The 6 staple crops under threat due to low yields are rice, maize, tomatoes, soybeans, cowpea and cassava. At a high-level emergency consultative meeting organized by the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement under the University of Ghana, principal research scientist at the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Crops Research Institute, Dr. Maxwell Asante said Ghana is producing only 50% of local rice despite the huge potential to be self-sufficient.
We have the potential to be self-sufficient in rice production, but currently we are producing just under 50%, and we have the potential. We have the land, we have the variety, we have the personnel, everything to be able to do it. So the advocacy is that we have to put in the needed investment.
On his part, crop scientist and senior lecturer at the University of Ghana, Dr. Ajaman Dankwa, revealed that farmers cannot produce the required 1 million tons of tomatoes for consumption, a reason they import from other countries.
So we are aware that the national demand is about 1 million metric tons. And we do just about half in terms of production here. So there's about half more that needs to be imported in Zaba.
The government introduced a planting for food and jobs policy to help farmers boost food production. But Dr. Beatrice Efe of the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement said there is still a wide gap to close in maize production.
We are not meeting target for PFG, so there is a need to increase production. We have not met target. There's progress, but we are not there yet.
Meanwhile, Director at the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement, Professor Eric Dankwa, warns the Ukraine war is a major threat to food security.
The time is now urgent because of the complicating factors. Of course, the Ukraine
Russia war.
The West Africa Center for Crop Improvement is expected to produce a report detailing the way forward in improving food security in Ghana through investment in genetic innovation and use of hybrid crop varieties. Samuel Mbora's report for Joy News, Accra.
I'll take you to the Ashanti region now, where the circuit court there has remanded a tailor's apprentice who on Friday allegedly killed a friend over 100 cedi debt. Emmanuel Boateng is said to have confessed to killing Kwekwedu Jemfi, a second-year student of KNUST, so that he would avoid the payment of the 100 cedi loan extended to him by the deceased. District Police Commander Eric Akwabwa says more investigations will be done to prove the case.
How did the police get the information?
Yeah, this is a murder case that police heard about the information on 22nd April 2022. Around 4 p.m., we had a call from Syria Assembly member that they have discovered a dead body in Syria outskirts. So I dispatched my team of investigators to go to the scene. When they got there, they saw the deceased lying down with no, visible marks of assault on him. It was only the neck that police saw swollen. So by then we didn't know who the person was. So we took him to Kumasi Kofonochi mortuary. So around 7 p.m., the mother of the deceased came to Feyasi police station and reported a mixing of his son. So police by then have already been to the murder scene, taking some pictures. So we showed the picture to the woman, whether she could identify him to be the son. So the mother saw the picture and truly identified the picture as her son. So we asked the mother how the son left the house in the morning. And the mother said, in the morning, the son left the house with the suspect that we have arrested. That she sent the son to go and buy her porridge. And she saw the son going out with the suspect. So police quickly moved in and arrested the guy. Then when we interrogated the guy, he claimed that on that day, he went out with the deceased and they go to a place near where the incident happened.
That's the District Police Commander Eric Akwabwa there. Now, convener of the Fix the Country movement, Baka Oliver Vomawo, has told the BBC how he was kicked and spat on by state security operatives when he was arrested on charges of treason felony. Mr. Vomawo had earlier in a YouTube address alleged that he was tortured while in the custody of the police.
Friday, 11 February 2022, I was unlawfully detained by the security forces of this regime, tortured and subsequently held without just cause for 35 days. Most of those 35 days I spent either in solitary confinement or in a cell with no ventilation, crawling with bedbugs, cockroaches and rats, and which was designed for 4 people but ultimately filled with nearly 30 detainees.
Well, after that address, the Attorney General and Ministry for Justice, the deputy, had committed to investigate the claims if Mr. Vomawo provided details of this alleged torture. Alfred Tianyabwa, Deputy Attorney General.
If he provides better particulars about how he was tortured, definitely they still be interested in looking into it. Because as a state, we believe in the fundamental human rights of our citizens, even our citizens. And I see any citizen claims or alleges that his fundamental rights have been violated, in this case, through torture, they still be interested in it.
Well, in a recent claim, speaking to the BBC, Oliver Vomawo claims he was kicked and spat on by state security forces, some of them in military uniform.
Some individuals came, plainclothes individuals, some heavily armed individuals, who then took me to a room and then started trying to undress me, taking the phone, and then pushed me on the ground, kicked me about. And all this time I'm asking them, can you identify yourself? And it was a lot of shut up, that kind of, so there's a lot of verbal intimidation. A couple of them spat on me.
That's Oliver Baka-Vomawo. Let's turn our attention to education. Minority in Parliament is alleging the diversion of at least 2 billion cedis as part of funds meant for financing government's flagship free SHS program. According to the Deputy Ranking on the Education Committee, Dr. Clement Apak, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia claimed a little over 5 billion cedis has been spent on the program, whilst the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, in contradiction, also revealed that 7.6 billion has been expended so far. Well, thankfully, Dr. Clement Apak himself joins us on the line. We're grateful for your time. So I see a conclusion there for you that it looks like we have 2 billion cedis that has been pumped into the free SHS and it has been accounted for. What exactly are you hoping to be done?
Well, first of all, let me say good afternoon to you and to listeners. I have issued a statement, quite lengthy, but in that statement, I have taken time to explain and to cite documentation made available to the good people of Ghana by the Minister for Finance through answering questions and in his own budget statements and media budget reviews. Now, if you use his own documentation and you do the additions, at most, the cost to the Ghanaian taxpayer in financing the implementation of the free school policy in the last 5 years should not be beyond 5.2 billion. This is an issue that I have raised severally, even on the floor of Parliament, and I've written about it. So I became very curious when on the 7th of April, the Vice President of the Republic, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, in his lecture on the Ghanaian economy, gave figures which he sought to use to explain the fact that if you were to combine all of government's flagship programs, including the free senior high school, the amount released and expended was just slightly above 15 billion. And that for the free senior high school policy, in the last 5 years, the total amount released for its implementation was 5.3 billion. A clear contradiction of what Ken Ofori-Atta had been telling me and Ghanaians for the past 1 year.
So I see that you are making a demand for a detailed breakdown of funds pumped into the free SHS since 2017, correct?
That is my point. So given this conflicting information coming from two top government officials, both members of the economic management team, headed by the Vice President, I felt that my original suspicion and the concerns I had to the effect that the 7.62 billion could not have been invested in the program now has received confirmation from the Vice President. So
that's Dr. Clement Apak. We'll have to leave it here. We'll interrogate this further in our subsequent bulletins. Well, the former president, John Dramani Mahama, is also making some allegations. He's been alleging that over 33 billion cedis earmarked for the fight against the COVID pandemic was diverted to fund Akufo-Addo's re-election bid in 2020. Listen.
The pandemic has had a generally deleterious effect on the economy of African nations, but some countries have ridden the wave more successfully than others based on the resilience of their economies, discipline, and prudent use of their resource envelopes in the period of this crisis. In my country, Ghana, our economy has emerged in extremely poor shape from the COVID experience. A ballooning deficit, double-digit inflation, a nose-diving currency, increasing debt distress are some of the symptoms of a very ill economy. Ghana's case was easy to predict with the cavalier handling of the economy by the current administration, unbridled borrowing from the capital market, creative misstatements of budget deficits and other critical figures were certain to come to a head eventually. Ghana went into the pandemic without adequate buffers and has emerged with a terribly battered economy. A pandemic windfall of which could have cushioned the economy remains unaudited and is believed to have been used largely in the quest to win election 2020 at all costs.
Former President John Dramani Mahama. We'll take a quick break here on the Midday News. When we return, we have sports, and then we go through the wish lists of Kwesi Arthur.
Yeah, man, I've been doing this. Right, probably Drake, Kanye West. Yes. Kojo in Chitu, I go like, work on a song with Kojo Enchi.
Have you approached him yet?
Nah, not yet. Because you better on your hazard, and that the money don't matter.
This is the Midday News. We are live on Joy 99.7 FM, also in Kumasi's Love 99.5 FM, together with a dozen affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. It's time for sports. Ore Kwampafo, good to see you. What do we have in sports?
Good to see you, Emefa. Well, it looks like we may have a title race in the Ghana Premier League, and Bechem United could cut down an 8-point lead to 5 this afternoon if they beat Kerala United at home. And all of this is because Asante Kotoko, for the first time this season, lost back-to-back games this weekend. This time falling to a 3-1 defeat at the Babayara Sports Stadium against Legon Cities. Now, after the match, a lot of the Porcupine Warriors fans have not been too pleased with the recent performances of the side, and head coach of the team, Prosper Nate Ogum, has been calling for the fans to support the team even better now, especially considering the slump in form that they've experienced. And he's also been saying that he may have to start talking to the players personally to find out what's going on with the team.
They look so slow on the field of play. Their movement wasn't the usual movement. I can't really tell what was actually wrong with them on the field. But then, I mean, it's game over. So we only have to make sure that we get back and do the right things for the next game. These are the very players who have played up to this level, getting us to where we are now. You don't blame them too much. I mean, they've done their best on the field today, but it wasn't enough. As you said, probably I have to sit down with them and find out what the issue is.
Africa has survived COVID.
Well, that was Prosper Nate Ogum, coach of Asante Kotoko, and that's how we wrap up the sport here.
Thank you very much, Eriku. Now, almost 90% of large-scale soybean processing factories in Ghana have had to shut down because they are not getting the required amount of soybean to process. That's according to the Soya Value Chain Association. Now, this has resulted in close to 1,000 workers of these factories being laid off. The poultry industry is, as a result, heavily affected, with farmers either unable to produce enough or hike prices of poultry products. Prince Apia has been investigating and assessing the impact in the second part of our hotline documentary titled The Broken Chain.
Vesta Oil Mills Factory. A few weeks ago, this place was filled with some products getting ready for the market. Today, the place is empty because of unavailability of raw materials. The factory has been shut down.
My name is Suleiman. I was employed here on 16th November 2020. We worked till 30th January 2021, and we was asked to go home because we don't have raw materials to feed the factory. So because of that,
it's been closed down because we don't have raw materials. I've produced less than 10% of my capacity this year. My workers are now just about maybe under 10. I don't even have them as permanent workers because if I do that, I cannot pay them.
At full operation, he had 100 workers, but the situation has compelled him to keep only 4 workers who are maintaining the facility.
Right now, I don't have workers.
The situation is affecting the strength of the machines in the factory. Mr. Bello explains he's losing millions of cedis to maintain it.
We have 4 machines. Now, the one we are using can do about 25 tons per day. So we are losing about almost 50,000 cedis a day because we are not working at full capacity. That's even just one machine.
And The Broken Chain Part 2 is tonight on the Joy News channel at 8:30 p.m. You want to catch that. And Society for Family Health International, a Pan-African non-governmental organization, has extended its products Gold Circle, Flex Lubrica, Mistol tablets, Plan Nor, Vitamin C tablets and services to Ghana to ensure healthier lives for all. The organization aims to expand access to information care services and products in family planning and reproductive health, HIV/AIDS prevention, maternal and child health.
And we pride ourselves in the area of family planning and reproductive health, HIV and AIDS prevention and management, malaria prevention as well, safe water systems, and maternal and child health. A range of condoms starting with the Gold Circle, we say Gold for Gold, made up of the strawberry and the plain and the classic. And the second batch of male condoms is the Flex condoms, coming in 6 variants. We say if it no be Flex, I beg forget. Have a chocolate flavored, which is the brown sugar Flex condom, and we also have a strawberry flavored. We have a Treasure Treasure Island, which actually means you're finding treasure. It includes the chocolate flavor, strawberry flavor, and then bubble gum. And we also have the spice, which is very ultra thin. It almost feels as if you have nothing on when you wear it. And then last but not the least, we have the stamina. It has.
That's the country manager, Theresa Mamiukia Gali. And it's time for Showbiz, and we're focusing on Kwesiapa. And he says he's targeted to feature big acts like Kanye West and Drake. Well, that's not all. In Ghana, he's looking forward to doing something special with some big veterans as well. Listen to him.
Well, you know I've been around all time. I give everybody the vibes on vibes.
Who's that one person, if you get them, your heart could be at peace? Like,
right, probably Drake, Kanye West, yes. Kojo-Inchi too. I go like work on a song with Kojo-Inchi.
Have you approached him yet?
Nah, not yet. Because I don't feel like I found the right one to put him on it.
The right song?
Yes. So Kojo-Inchi. Daddy Lumba to Amachi Dede.
Yeah.
But I haven't found the right songs for all of them yet. So when I find it, I'll go meet to them.
Now, what about the international musicians you mentioned? What about Kanye and Drake? In case it works now, in case anyone, if there's any plot, do you have the right songs?
Oh yeah, that one they
Yeah, and that's how we wrap up today's edition of the Midday News on that celebration note. If you want to catch more on myjoyonline.com, details of how an apprentice allegedly killed a KNUST student. We also have Samson Ladia in the outlining allowance of state-owned enterprise executives enjoy. I stake 10K in betting, but won only 200 cedis the whole year last year. Former UG students, you want to catch that and more. I am Emefa. Apawu. Living Word with Pastor Mensah Otabil is up next. Please stay for it and have a good afternoon.
Hello, please, am I speaking to Miss Joanna Kuma?
Yes, please.
My name is Philip and I'm calling from MTN. Someone has just sent you money and we will need you to enter your PIN number so that we can put the money in your account.
Hey,
oh dada, MTN will never ask you for your PIN. Never reveal your PIN to anyone under any circumstances. And if you are not sure, always check the number. MTN will only call you with a dedicated number, 0244 300,000.